Shalom, Yasharala, Yabrakam, Yabasham, Shai. So we're going to real quick. I wasn't able to do this video because of my internet signal at the time wasn't the best, but right now we have a better signal. So we're going to do this video just showing and promoting, So we're going to do this video just the real Mount Sinai. Okay, we're going to just do a couple videos showing and promoting archaeologists who have been traveling and researching and discovering different archaeological events to prove that Yahweh has made his word to be true based off what he has left in real life. Okay, so we're just going to copy. I'm gonna copy paste a couple things, and then we're gonna get started on a new video. And I'm gonna push mute on my microphone so you all will be able to hear the video, but you won't be able to hear the background sounds over here. All right. Okay, so give me 2.5 seconds, and salute to everybody that's keeping a Shabbat with us, that's keeping this time set apart. And we just want to give you a salute, say Thawadi Yahweh for you all, honoring, reverencing Yahweh. You know, reverencing the Most High enough to want to acknowledge the time frame that he told us to. I mean, it's a part of the commandments. You know? Remember the Shabbat day, the Sabbath day, keep it holy. You can't beat that. You know? All right. Now there's one video I haven't seen. I'm gonna open this one up in a new tab. I'm gonna check this one out together. Okay. And all right, I think I got my videos up. Yeah, okay, got my videos up. All right, let's get started, man. Let's enjoy this Mashpachapa'im according to the Jerusalem together as a family. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start from the most recent one, and then we're going to go to what this guy, his name is Ron Wyatt. Okay, Ron Wyatt, he was one of the first ones to invest his money. He had backers, he had supporters. Hey, Shalom, hallelujah, hallelujah, we back. Shalom, hallelujah, that's right, that's right, that's right. So we got a better signal. So, you know, I don't want to leave the family hanging. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to mute my microphone. These videos are family friendly, so you can play them for your mashpachayim to be able to see. All right. All right. And I'm going to be paying attention to the screen, so you all let me know if we have any issues, any hangups. All right. So let's see. And again, this goes perfectly with the Torah portion because we read about our travels in on our way, you know, to the promised land. We read about our travels. That was this week's Torah portion. Now let's watch the videos. All right, so let's start a screen share. And I'm going to go through a couple of them. I'm going to be sitting here watching them with y'all. All right. So I don't want y'all to think I'm absentee. I am not. I will be here with you. All right. You are not alone. I am here with you. Though you're far away, I am here to stay. Okay. I do not own the rights to that song. Please don't flag my video. Okay. All right, let's get to it. Oh, my bad. I have to, excuse me. I got to mute my microphone on my end.
Doesn't things that happen again?
ancient and mysterious land. Underneath Saudi's Islamic regime and its rich oil resources lies many untold truths. These discoveries recently led many to believe this land to be in fact the lost land of Moses. Join us as we reveal to you the biblical proofs behind these sites. It is time everyone knows God's words are infallible and that His stories are true. I present to you the real Mount Sinai, unveiling the secrets of Arabia. For centuries, the presently accepted location of the mountain being the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt has been debated by many scholars. The early chapters of Exodus tell us in fact that Mount Sinai is in Midian, which is in Saudi Arabia. At age 40, Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh in Egypt and dwelt in the land of Midian. Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the desert and came to the mountain of God. This is where Moses encountered God in the burning bush. God gave him an important command to return here after setting free the Israelites. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve me on this mountain. In 1984, archaeologist Ron Wyatt went to Midian, where he also believed he would find the real Mount Sinai. Accused of espionage by the Saudi authorities, him and his two sons were held for 78 days in custody. Despite this, Ron Wyatt was able to share with the world unprecedented footage of these biblical sites. They are to this day fenced off by the Saudi government as archaeological sites. These discoveries must no longer remain hidden and must be displayed for the world to see. There have been many hypotheses surrounding the location of the Red Sea crossing. The Nuweiba beach is by far the best candidate. With a surface area capable of holding millions of people, we can imagine the children of Israel trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's armies. Scuba diving research and underwater drones have found distinct Egyptian chariot parts in the depths of the Red Sea. This is where God delivered Israel from Egypt and made a way for them into Arabia. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the waters. The first stop is Elim, an oasis just by the shore of the Red Sea, where the children of Israel would find water to drink. The 12 wells can still be spotted along the oasis. Some are even used by the locals to this day. There are numerous date palm trees in Elim, which makes it the perfect spot for the children of Israel to find rest. Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on the journey from the wilderness of Sin. And the people thirsted there for water, and they complained against Moses and said, "Why is it you have brought us out of Egypt? To kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" And the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will stand there before you on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink." At the northwest of Mount Sinai is a split rock of Horeb. Standing on the crest of a hill, the rock stands 50 feet tall and can easily be seen from a great distance.
Oh, it's incredible.
It is incredible. It is absolutely massive.
We can imagine millions of gallons of water flowing out into the nearby camp. The rock itself shows signs of water erosion. Ancient petroglyphs can be found at this site, including shapes of sandals. Moses rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. A structure can still be found today at the base of Mount Sinai. Its particularity is that it is made out of uncut stones as God commanded. "If you make an altar of stone for me, you shall not build it out of cut stones." This is where the animals would be kept in line, ready to be sacrificed. The remains of the 12 pillars can still be seen almost 3,000 years later at the foot of Mount Sinai. In between Mount Sinai and the altar, we notice a cave looking down the valley. The prophet Elijah traveled for 40 days and 40 nights. He kept going until he arrived at the mountain of God. There he went into a cave and spent the night. Behind the Elijah cave is a leveled area. This is where God told Moses, Aaron, and the 70 elders to go up. They saw the God of Israel. Under his feet appeared to be a pavement of sapphire, just as clear as the sky itself. God did not harm these leading men of Israel, but they ate and drank in his presence. Shortly after, Moses was then told to continue climbing the mountain with Joshua. This is where God gives him the tablets with the law and the 10 Commandments. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain. Could the blackened peak of Mount Sinai be evidence for God's holy presence? When the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us gods that shall go before us." The golden calf altar has been recognized as an archaeological site by the Saudi government. They erected a fence around it in an effort to preserve the site. On the ground we can see large boulders that comprise the base of the altar. These figures resemble to Egyptian god Hathor, the god of prosperity. The bull was placed in high esteem in Egypt, where the children of Israel were slaves for 400 years. So they created images that were natural to their rebellious heart. The judgment of these idolaters were great, as 3,000 men fell by the sword that day. An enclosed primitive graveyard can be found not so far from the golden calf altar. This is most likely the location where they buried the corpse of the idolaters. Here are a few more proofs of Israel's journey through Arabia. If you look here, we can see a vandalized menorah. Thankfully, someone called Dr. Kim came here in 2006 and he managed to take a picture of this menorah before it was vandalized. It was a 7-branch chandelier right here. We're going to show you the before and after picture. It is so incredible to see it here. This menorah was vandalized in an attempt to conceal evidence of Israelite presence in Arabia. The Hebrew pictographs in the region correspond with the letters of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, as we can see here with the letter Tav, Tet, and He. The manna was like coriander seed and looked like gum resin. The people would gather it and grind it between 2 millstones or beat it in the mortar.
So over here we can see a big rock with a huge dent in it, and this was used to grind manna. So with a pestle and a mortar, this would be the mortar.
Many of these mortars can be found around Mount Sinai.
It is here at Mount Sinai that Moses received instruction to build a tabernacle. It It was to be built from the heavenly pattern, with each object representing God's plan of salvation for man. This is where the priests would reconcile man to their Creator. God is a holy God, therefore in the Old Covenant, only one man could enter into the Holy of Holies, where God's presence dwelt. The good news is that
All right, so from that part, they're gonna start doing like kind of like a television evangelist type thing. Shabbat shalom, hallelujah. All right, they're gonna start doing hallelujah, shalom, shalom, hallelujah, shalom, shalom, all praise. So from that part of the video, they're gonna start doing the televangelist thing to kind of get people to to come and operate with them, as far as their their form of Christianity. So that's why I stopped it. We're going to pick it back up on another video. Extremely interesting information. Just check it out, watch it. Tell me what you all think. Let's enjoy this time frame of the Shabbat together, just building. Okay. We're going to go to this next video. All right. This next video is called Ron Wyatt's Untold Story, Discovery of Mount Sinai. All right. God, Shabbat shalom to you too, King. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shabbat. Oh, you weren't talking to me. You were talking to the sisters. My brother says Shabbat shalom, Akwath. My bad. Shabbat shalom, Ak. Okay, so let's check out this next video. All right, this next video, very interesting. So let me start the screen share real quick. All right. And this is called Ron Wyatt's Untold Story, Discovery of Mount Sinai. Okay, so Ron Wyatt, this Goyam, he spent a lot of money traveling and exploring to find our home, to find the proof of Yerushalayim. Okay, our brother did a lot of ministry to try to find our proof of Yahweh. Okay, so let's play this video. I pray that you all enjoy it. Again, it's family friendly, safe for the Eladim, safe for the children. Enjoy.
When Ron went to see Noah's Ark in 1977, he realized there was nothing he could do at that point in time. So it's as if God had impressed him and placed a burden on his heart to find the crossing site and where the Exodus took place. So that's when he rented an airplane in Eilat. And from this airplane, he flew up and down the shore of the Gulf of Aqaba to see if he could find a wadi that would allow the Israelites to come across. So as he flew up and down, he saw this huge beach, which was Nuweiba. And what he did after that was, when they flew back, they drove down and began to dive. Now, it was a miracle that they were allowed to do that, because God had this happen exactly when Israel was in control of the Sinai Peninsula. They could have never done this if it was under Egyptian control. So that's the first miracle, in my opinion. In later years, a couple of years later, Ron took Rennie Norbergen with him to the beach to show him. And Rennie wrote about it in his book here that you can see. And he told Mr. Norbergen that he believed it was Jebel el-Lawz. So when he looked at the flight maps that he was able to get, he saw an area that appeared to be enclosed in the rim of an ancient volcano. And to the best of his figures, He came up with an area of about 5,000 square acres. And he knew that would certainly be large enough to be the camp of the Israelites. Ron had applied for a visa to get into Saudi Arabia for 4 years. He tried hard. He wrote to the embassy, and it was impossible to get a visa in. So he had arranged for him and Ronnie and Danny to slip across the border. And when they did that, they were able to pick a taxi who drove them out so far, and then they got another ride, and they made it right to the mountain. And it was the Bedouin who said, "Oh, Jebel Musa Henna." And they knew they were in the right place. And what Ron saw on that first trip, there were no fences back then. There was nobody living there. And he was able to drive actually into the Holy Precinct area. They just drove right in and around, and he saw everything. He saw what looked like an altar to him. He saw a lot of stuff that day, but then they had to leave. They were run out. When they came out, they were run out of the area. And so as they got back to the border, they thought everything was going to be okay. They were just going to slip across the border. And if they were caught, what Ron had found out was that if you're caught illegally in there, they will just kick you out of the country. But it didn't happen because someone had reported them to the embassy in Washington, D.C. as being Israeli spies. Now, I'm not going to reveal the name of that person because he's not here to defend himself. So, and it's really irrelevant because in the end, it worked out to God's glory, because Ron was able to go on TV, and national TV, and tell the world what he saw out there, and even quote Bible scriptures. Now, while he was arrested, it was not an easy experience for him, but he said they had some nice people there. One of them especially, whose name was Ali. He was a very kind man. They were in a place called Hagel, which is a city just south of the Jordanian border, right on the coast. And they were arrested by the Coast Guard, and they were held there. And due to the nature of what they were charged with, they were treated kind of rough at first. But when they got there, there had been a lot of sickness. And Ron investigated and found out that what was going on was probably yellow fever, because several men had died, and the whole area was infested with mosquitoes. So Ron asked them to get him a lot of olive oil, and he wrote out prescriptions. When he told them he was an anesthetist, they didn't understand that. And finally he told them he was a sleep doctor, and they understood that he put people to sleep for surgery. So they accepted his prescriptions. He wrote a prescription for antibiotics. They brought it back. Everyone began taking them. They killed all of the mosquitoes. They put it in their toilet. They put it in the standing water. And from that time on, everyone got well. So that had gotten them into the good graces of the Saudis. And I think that was the first real miracle that helped both them and the Saudis. Now, another interesting story is three Saudi investigators came to Ron, and they were pounding him. Why do you think Musa would have brought the people to here? There's nothing here. Show us your evidence. And they put him in a helicopter, only Ron and these three men. And they said, you show us where you think the crossing took place. And Ron took them. He could see across the Gulf. He could see Nuweiba. So what he did is he pointed them down to a place to land right on the beach opposite Nuweiba. And when they got there, the second miracle happened, because it was an absolute miracle. Right where they landed was a column still standing on the beach that matched one Ron had found on the Egyptian side a few years earlier. Only the one on the Egyptian side had all of the writing eroded where it had laid in the surf. And when these men saw this column and saw that it had ancient writing on it, I think that this gave Ron a lot of credibility and really saved their lives. That's what I believe. And so then when they went back, Ronnie was not doing well at all. Ron knew that Ronnie was about to crack. And Ronnie says, I've got to get out of here. And Ron knew they had to make an escape. And he said, okay, we'll do it the next Thursday or whatever it was. But he said, oh no, we can't because Ollie's on guard. And if we escape while Ollie's here, they'll kill him. And so Ronnie said, okay, we'll wait. But that was the Thursday. That Wednesday, the day before they were going to try to escape, was when they came to him and they said, Halas, it is finished. You're going home. And at that point, they were turned over to the Jordanians for 3 days, and then they came home. They were in prison there for a total of 75 days in Saudi, and then 3 additional days in Jordan. Ron was unable to bring home any documentation, but he believed that the column contained the name Solomon, Mizraim, Edom, death. After Ron and the boys got home from being in prison, Ron swore he would never go back there again. He was aware of the dangers now. But in late in 1984, Ron met a man named David Fasselt, who wanted to go see Noah's Ark. And this story sort of interlocks with this because also about that same time, a man from Saudi, who he later learned was a prince and probably related to the king in some point, in some way, I don't know how, contacted Ron and he said, I've heard your story, and ever since I've heard it, I can't do anything. I cannot function. I have to see this mountain. His name was Samran al-Materi, and he lived in Tabuk. And we were told that he was a prince of Tabuk. I don't understand the connections, so I can't go into that. But Samran actually flew to Nashville and visited with Ron. And he said, you have to take me to this mountain. I'll get you visas. I'll get you out there. I have to see it. And Ron said, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you come to Noah's Ark with me? I'm taking a man there. And this was at the end of March in 1985. So Samran went out to Noah's Ark with Ron when he took David Fasselt out there. And there was snow on the mountain and covering Noah's Ark. But Samran believed this man is telling the truth. There is something here. And that gave him even more, more credibility with Samran. So Samran said, you've got to come on, I'll get you visas. Mr. Fasselt, you can come too. Because he had seen David Fasselt working some of his magic with his equipment, his detection equipment. So they all went out there. And when they were out there, they were guests of Samran. They had a contract to do some work on mining purposes. So when they were out there with the dig crew, they dug into this one area that Ron believed was a well. And at 20 feet down into that well, they found a gold bracelet. And it was at that point that they were all put under house arrest again. They found a lot of things when they were there because they were given free run of the area. And Ron found a white marble piece that had what he believed was archaic Hebrew on it. And he hid it because he knew that if he showed it to anyone, it would be destroyed. And we keep hoping that someone can find that because, well, it'd be very difficult out there to find anything, but it's still out there, I do believe. After they were put under house arrest, they did bring in an archaeologist from Riyadh who met them at Samran's complex out there. And they looked at David Fasselt's videotapes showing the calves on the golden calf altar and different things. And this was the archaeologist who said, these are not found anywhere else in Saudi Arabia, only out here. And when he saw the evidences for himself, that's when the entire area was fenced off and put under archaeological control and made off limits to everyone. After they had everything confiscated from them, for years, Ron was just desperate to try to get photos, all to no avail. It was in the late 80s when we read an article claiming that Mr. Cornuke was claiming he had found Mount Sinai. And at first we were really excited, but then we discovered that he had no plans for him or Mr. Williams, who was with him, to share the photos with anyone. And they had their own story about what happened. And we learned that the way that they found it, because this mountain is not an easy thing to find. It's not. It's like trying to find a grain of sand on the beach. So I'll read from the beginning of their book in the foreword, which David Fassel wrote. He said, "Was Larry afraid to give it a try?" Talking about sneaking into Mount Sinai. He says, "No. Would I go with him?" He says, "Well, not exactly, but I'd give him a map." He had told him everything about Ron's story. And so in the books that followed, their story also includes episodes where they claim they told people they were doctors. And so all Ron could do was pray about it, and he kept trying to contact Summeron and see it, because Summeron had claimed that he could get the photos and videos and get it to us. He was asking large amounts of money, more than we would ever see in our lifetime. And then finally, there was a time when we went to Nuweiba. This was in January of 1992. When we were in Nuweiba, I had brought a map with me to Saudi Arabia. I don't know why. This was not something Ron and I talked about, but I had put 3 copies in my luggage, mainly because we had just bought a fax machine and I could make copies with it. So I had those in my purse, and we're out at Nuweiba, and Summeron speaks English, but his wives do not. So we would have Ahmed Sami, who was the man who worked at the desk in Nuweiba at our hotel. He would try to call for us, and then he would interpret to the wives, since they couldn't speak English, because Summeron was never there. Finally, when Ahmed Sami figured something was going on here, he said, "Tell me about this. Maybe I can help you." So, and we just called him Sammy. And Ron explained to him that there was Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia. And then he told him about his other discoveries, about Noah's Ark and all of these things. And Ahmed Sami had this great idea. He says, "I can get this for you." He says, every Muslim is allowed to go on a Hajj visa to Saudi Arabia once in their lifetime. In fact, we have to. He says, "I've never gone on mine." And so the deal was, we gave him some money to buy a ticket over there. We left him a camera, and Ron even gave him $500 extra to go over there. Now, when we got home, we got a call from Ahmed Sami, who's saying, "I need more money. This is going to cost more than I thought." So I'm the stingy one in the family. Ron was quite willing to give him more money, so I said, okay. So I go to the bank. I made the wire transfer based on the instructions Sammy had given us. And I think it was another $1,500. I can't remember exactly. But I kept saying, "Ron, we're just throwing away money." I got a call from the bank that the wire didn't go through because there was a number missing, and a wire number missing, and I needed to get that. So Ron had me call Ahmed Sami, and I called him, and I got that number, and I called the bank back the next morning and told them I wanted to go ahead and make that wire, and here was the number. And they told me, "Well, you're going to have to come in. We can't do bank wire transfers over the phone. So I went down to the bank and I gave them the information. And when I got home, we got the call that they couldn't make the wire because their wire system was down for the afternoon. That would be the next morning. Well, what happened right after that was a miracle. Ron got a phone call from a girl who said that she didn't know what this was about, but her brother had called her and said, find this man named Ron Wyatt and give him my number and tell him to call me. And when I looked at Ron's face, he turned white as a sheet while he was on that phone. And I said, what? I didn't know if someone had died or what. And he said, I don't know. And he immediately called this number in Saudi Arabia. And this man answered. And his name was Jim Caldwell. The Caldwells were a family who were living and working in Saudi Arabia near Riyadh. He worked for Aramco. And so they had to go out of the country every so often to keep their tax status with the United States. So in their trip that they had to take to leave the kingdom, they came into Egypt. They were especially interested in going to see St. Caterina's or St. Catherine's in the Sinai Peninsula. This is supposedly the real Mount Sinai, but it's the traditional site. It was located by dreams and mysticism from the mother of Constantine. That's how it was located. So anyhow, they went out there and they came away very, very disappointed because they knew they had not seen the real thing. And when they had left Nueva, they had been at the same hotel that we had been at, and Sammy there knew that they lived in Saudi Arabia. So when they came back through that second time after their trip, which was right after we had left, he was very excited. He had already figured out what he was going to do, how he was going to get the footage, and how he was going to collect a grand sum from Ron Wyatt. When they came back, Ahmed Sammy told him, you've got to do this for me. And he was trying to get Jim and his wife Penny to make these photos for him and then give them to his brother in Saudi, who would give them to him. And I'm sure the Caldwells were quite concerned, what is he talking about? And I want to let you hear them tell the story, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it because you can't hear the video real good. They said when they got there, Ahmed Sammy told them a story about a man who had just been there. And it had something to do with the Ark and Mount Sinai. And they didn't know what it was all about. But finally, Jim said he figured out that it was Noah's Ark. And Jim said something went off in his brain that his sister had sent him a videotape the year before about a man who said he had found Noah's Ark. And that man was Ron Wyatt. And so what Jim would do, he said, was he'd take these tapes. They would come in on 8mm tapes because they were small. And he would transfer them to a VHS tape. And then he would reuse the 8mm tapes. I imagine it's kind of hard to get tapes over in Saudi. So him and his wife and his 2 kids, they're doing their usual out of the kingdom visit that you have to do when you work over there every so often to keep your tax status. And they had just gone to St. Catherine's and were very disappointed because they thought it was the real Mount Sinai. And they had really wanted to see that, but they didn't. So when they got back, and they were praying and studying and wanting to see the real Mount Sinai. And so there's more to their story, which they can tell, but when they got there and Ahmed Sammy told them this story, Jim said, he thought a minute, he said, I brought 10 tapes with me on this trip and to use, and I've used 9 of them. I wonder if the one I haven't used, and he put it in his video recorder, played it, put it up to Ahmed Sammy's eye, and Ahmed Sammy said, "That's him, that's the man." He had not used the tape that had Ron on there. And they were all very, I mean, that was a miracle. That was a miracle right there. And we had left a map with Ahmed Sammy, and Ron had me draw a cow on there. Then he had me draw the mountain with a tree between two boulders and some other things. I don't remember all of it. But Jim and Penny went there right when they left Nueva, took their car, and on their way home, they went to Mount Sinai and they made all these pictures. And when they got them, they called Ron and said, "We want you to have these." So a few weeks later, Ron flew to Bahrain and met them over there, because you can fly freely to Bahrain, but you can't Saudi, and it was very quick and easy for them to come there. So they gave us not only copies of the video, they gave us all their photos, and they gave us even the negatives. And this continued for quite a while. They would, Ron went over there a couple of times. They had a place, they called it the Mexican restaurant. They spoke in code over the phone, because I think everyone was rather nervous about what they were doing, especially them, because they lived there. So all the pictures and videos that they brought to us, I honestly believe that was the happiest I'd ever seen Ron, and, you know, in anything relating to all of this work that we had been doing, because for so long he had wanted to show people. Ron didn't do this to gain any fame or fortune or anything like that. Ron just wanted people to see what God had preserved for them. And I don't believe anybody could have done a better job of photographing and videoing back then, back in the early 90s, with the equipment that was available to people back then. I don't believe anybody could have ever done a better job than they did. And I will always be grateful for what they did. Vivica, I will always admire her for what she did, because Vivica Pontin heard Ron speak, I think in Norway or Sweden, and she heard this before he was able to get the photos and everything, and she wanted to go and help Ron have some photos. So that girl, she was single, and she got a job at a hospital in Tabuk, and I don't know how she did it, but she recruited lots of people to take her out to the mountain, and she made all of these photos and videos and just gave them right to Ron. I remember one time there was a young man who was working with her, Toby, and she had gone out to the mountain with Toby, and she had shot a lot of rolls of film, slides. And when Toby and them got back, they found out that Toby's sister back in the U.S. had been in a terrible accident, and Toby had to go back to the U.S. So Vivica gave Toby all of these rolls of film, and when Toby got back to the U.S., we arranged, and I took my mama, and she and I, we drove up to Kentucky and met with him, and he gave us all the film and everything, and they were magnificent. They were the first pictures that we had up close of the altar of Moses in the Holy Precinct area. Vivica was amazing. She went diving. She got some amazing footage while she was diving of what looked to be chariot parts. She said she didn't even see them at the time. What she would do is she would just film. Ron had met her in Cairo and taken her a underwater camera. And so she was just diving and filming and did an incredible job. And so we have what Vivica did. She just gave us everything. And she wanted no credit for anything. She was of the same heart, still is, of the same heart that Ron was. She just wanted people to make it to heaven. We had a man come to visit us from Sweden by the name of Rory. And we got to know him, and he told us about his friend Leonard. And so Leonard was very interested in the discoveries, and he was a highly educated man. He was a geneticist at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. And so Leonard came to visit us a few times, and he drew up a contract with Ron. He wanted to write a book about all these discoveries with Ron. Ron was going to be co-author. And so Leonard came, and he even came to visit Ron when he was sick and dying, but they never got the book written. So after Ron died, Leonard came to see me. I think it was in October of '99. He came, and he wanted to write the book. And he said he would, he needed to be the only person on the cover because of his credibility. I was still grieving Ron very much, and so he drew up a contract. It was a strange contract. It was in two parts. One part of it was the contract to write the book. The other part of it was the contract that he could use the pictures. So I gave him all of my research. We went downstairs where all the books are, and I gave him all the research, and then he went back to Sweden and he wrote the book. And he sent me 2 or 3 different manuscripts because I had the right of refusal. I got to check it and everything. And it was an excellent book, and it was all about Ron's work. But the only place in there where it told was one little paragraph that said this is based on, the research and discoveries and field work of Ron Wyatt. And anyhow, Ron had taken him diving a couple times and showed him everything. And after the book came out, I no longer heard from Leonard anymore, even though I was supposed to receive 50% of the proceeds. So anyhow, he became pretty well known as a writer for writing all of that. And people think that it was the research of Leonard Moeller, but it was not. It was the work of God through Ron Wyatt. And people need to know that. No matter how many degrees you have, no matter how intelligent you are, without God, you cannot do anything. I mean, you can do something to impress man, but you can't impress God. And so it's rather sad that Ron told me that day when we were talking about this. He said, when I'm gone. This was right before we went out the door to take him to the hospital where he died. He said, when I'm gone, everyone will be jockeying for position. I was, my mind was elsewhere. I did not know what he meant, but I never forgot what he said. And so the whole story of these things needs to be known. There's a lot of people who did a lot of wonderful things, but God is supposed to have the glory because he did these things. He preserved these things for this time in history. Ron had said many times in his meetings in different places, and to me and to other people, that it was very important that people know that he made the discoveries because that was the only way people would know that God did it. Because Ron gave God all the credit. Ron knew he didn't do this on his own. He knew that no human being contained the wisdom to find the things that God had hidden from humanity all of these years and find these things all in such a short period of time. Ron didn't want the credit. It was something, well, for example, I used to think about Moses. Moses had to write the first 5 books of the Bible. He had to write about himself. And one of the things that it says about Moses is that he was one of the most humble men above all. Now, he had to write that about himself, but he was impressed by God to write it. Think about everything that a person who's doing the work of God has to do. And in order for God to receive the glory and the credit of such a magnificent thing as this, it has to be stated that God used this person to do it. He used a person who was faithful, a person who had no ulterior motive, who had no want or desire for fame or fortune. And Ron did not have that. He just flat didn't. And this is all part of God's glory, not of man's.
All right, Shalom Mashrakah. Yeah, man. So we see that was, man, she was a talker, right? Nothing bad against it, but she just got to go. she got to go. She got steam. But all praise the Most High, because she had to tell, amen, all praise the Most High, she had to tell her husband's story. Ron Wyatt did a lot of work, and the Most High said that the Gentiles would minister unto us. That man, Ron Wyatt, did a lot of work, and he went places that we couldn't go. And his objective was to do what? His objective was to prove the Bible was true, that the Most High is true, and that his testimonies are true. His locations that he said he would do these things in really did happen in. All right, which is another thing that's so powerful. Why? Because that was this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion was about the Most High recapping our journeys. He recapped our goings. And when you understand that the Father did use these Gentiles to the degree that he used them, come on, man, we can't pretend like they don't have no purpose. Like they just don't got no worth. Man, they got access to things that we don't right now. So anywho, so the point of saying all that is to say that the Most High used them in a wonderful way. And Ron Wyatt was a professional archaeologist who proved that the events of the Bible happened. It wasn't me. I don't have the money to go scuba diving in the Arabian Peninsula, in the Arabian Sea, But what we can do is we can watch these documentaries and we can prove that what the Most High God did is true. How Pharaoh drove the wheels off of their chariots. Right, yeah, she got to go, boy. She was dropping all the details, boy. Man, but she had to tell her husband's story. Okay, so how Pharaoh and his army, how they rode their horses so hard that the wheels broke off. How is it possible that these wheels of Egyptian military grade horse-drawn war machines are at the bottom of the Sea of Reeds, exactly where the Bible says it is? So now when people say, well, hey, those stories in the Bible aren't true. Yes, they are. Let me show you a video, friend. Let me show you a video, sister, brother. For those who don't believe that the events of the Bible, that the God of Abraham is real, which he is, from Genesis to Revelations, everything he said he was going to do, he did. And there's archaeologists who traveled the world to prove that the Bible is real for your benefit. You understand that? For your benefit. All praise the Most High. So these videos are very important. And again, they go very well with this week's Torah portion. Now, we're going to watch the second video. The second video is 21 minutes, 17 seconds. And I'm just rocking with you, man. We just enjoying ourselves. These are some of the things that I do. This is what I do. I love to study. I have a heart to study. We're going to watch this next video. It's on the same subject, the real Mount Sinai. So everybody got that name of that guy? That's Ron Wyatt. Okay. The archaeologist. Okay. And Ron Wyatt, he absolutely did put in the work. He went to prison. I haven't went to prison for trying to find historical biblical landmarks. I would love to. Not go to prison, but I would love to find those landmarks and bring the information back. But I haven't done that. But again, we have these Gentiles that have the access, they have the resource, they have the ability to be able to do so. And in doing so, they have proved that the God of Abraham is true. Ron Wyatt was one of the ones who found, when I did that lesson showing that Noah's Ark was in Turkey, and then praise Yahweh, I was able to travel to Turkey and I was 20 miles from Noah's Ark. That was a powerful feeling. But the point is to say this right here is the Most High used that Gentile to bring that information forward to us to prove his real existence. And so if he really did that, which he did do, he really did put a boat on the mountain. The Egyptian army, he drowned them, opened the rock and gave us a fountain. He put a boat on the mountain. The Egyptian army, he drowned them. He opened a rock and gave the children of Israel, our grandparents drank from pure waters that Yahweh used to come from out of a megalith of a stone. And that megalith of a stone is still in the land of Arabia today. I'm going to play this next video. This one I don't know about. I haven't seen it, so we'll be watching it together. So let's just check it out, man. Let's just enjoy our Shabbat Pa'im. Yeah, Khan, hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's on a verse of a song that I'm doing right now with one of our brothers from Memphis. One of our Memphis, man, them brothers got some fire. Them brothers got some flow. But on my verse, that's what I say. What I say? I said, our God is an awesome power, boy. No, wait, I said, our God is a fire starter, boy. You better bring a whole lot of water, boy. Yo, God, a retarded looking boy. Our God is a problem solver, boy. He put a boat on the mountain. The Egyptian army, he drowned him, opened a rock, and gave us a fountain. All right, because these are actual events that he did. Now let's try this next video. See what the Most High did with this next video. All right. Let's see. And just enjoy ourselves on this Shabbat Yom. And again, these are all things that when you read the Torah portion next time, when you go through it again, it'll help to give validity to the actual events of what he did. Yeah, they got bread. Of course they got bread. They gotta have bread. They gotta be caked up. And we got the faith. They got the bread, though. The Most High said Esau will have the fatness of the earth. We got the faith. They got the bread. Okay. God. All right. All right, next video. Let's see.
According to the Jerusalem Post, the Vatican...
I apologize. I got to rewind it. Salakli, I got to mute my microphone. Now, if I hear that this video, because I haven't...
According to the Jerusalem Post, the Vatican...
I haven't seen this video yet, so I'm going to be watching it together. We're going to be watching together. This one is a little bit different. It just caught my attention. It's called The Strange Mysteries Surrounding Mount Sinai's Real Location. Okay, so I haven't seen this one yet, so we'll be watching. If I see something that's off, then I'm going to stop the video. Let me go ahead and mute my mic. Man, I've been talking this whole time with the microphone muted. I'm going off. All right. Okay, let's play this video. All right, here we go.
We're already taking steps to officially recognize Mount. According to the Jerusalem Post, the Vatican were already taking steps to officially recognize Mount Karakum as the real Mount Sinai. If this is true, then how they will reconcile this with the fascinating evidence the Doubting Thomas Research Foundation have presented about Jebel al-Lawz should be interesting. This story is a lot stranger than we initially anticipated. According to all of our geography and history books, Egypt's biblical Mount Sinai, otherwise known as Jebel According to the Jerusalem Post, the Vatican were already taking steps to officially recognize Mount Karakum as the real Mount Sinai. If this is true, then how they will reconcile this with the fascinating evidence the Doubting Thomas Research Foundation have presented about Jebel al-Lawz should be interesting. This story is a lot stranger than we initially anticipated. According to all of our geography and history books, Egypt's biblical Mount Sinai, otherwise known as Jebel Musa, exists within the Sinai Peninsula. However, across the region, there is growing evidence suggesting that those books may be completely wrong. In 2003, a seemingly anomalous event that only occurs once a year was discovered by an Israeli tour guide on top of Mount Karakum, over 200 kilometers northeast of Jebel Musa, deep in the Negev desert. Meanwhile, back in the Sinai Peninsula itself, 100 kilometers north of Jebel Musa, a 15-year-old mystery concerning a group of Russian scientists who may have uncovered an ancient Bedouin enigma now find their lives in potential danger because of it. These two locations, and the third one on the border of Saudi Arabia and the Kingdom of Jordan, are all connected to one central mystery: the true location of Mount Sinai. Where is it? And will we ever know the truth? Popularized by Emperor Constantine and supported by local Arab Bedouin tradition, Jebel Musa, which is Arabic for Moses Mountain, is believed to be the mountain where Prophet Moses received the laws of Bani Israel, or the children of Israel, from God. Its biblical name is Mount Sinai. However, over the past 50 years, this narrative has been challenged by a number of sources with various degrees of academic credibility, all suggesting that the real Mount Sinai is further east. In the final part of this episode, we will explore what is now the most popular of these theories, that the real Mount Sinai may rest near the Saudi-Jordanian border. But first, let's explore two other locations in and around the region that can both be described as anomalous. In 1977, several media outlets published photographs of the Sinai mountain range, taken by the controversial historian and self-proclaimed expert on ancient Sumerian lore, the late Zechariah Sitchin. In his book, The Earth Chronicles Expedition, Sitchin, an Azerbaijani national, repeats a common trope echoed by many other French historians, that the real Mount Sinai from the biblical book of Exodus is not Jebel Musa, but another location further east. To date, there have been at least 12 notable candidates for an alternate location for Mount Sinai, mentioned in both official and amateur writings. According to Sitchin, the real Mount Sinai exists southwest of a town called El Arish. Those familiar with him will know that much of his works concern the framing of ancient religious lore within the context of ancient extraterrestrial human contact. According to him, ancient man's descriptions of encounters with beings from other worlds have been misinterpreted in modern times as descriptions of religious and supernatural events. He states that these events eventually formed the basis of many of the world's major religions, including Moses' experiences on Mount Sinai, detailed in both Hebrew texts and the Quran. According to Sihon, Mount Sinai was most likely a landing area designed for spacecraft, so could not have been what is now known as Jebel Musa. Although he spent much of the 1970s and 80s trying to prove and confirm exactly which mountain this was, regional instability during that time prevented him from completing his research. However, in April 2006, an expedition from the Russian Research Association, Kosmopoisk, visited the Sinai Range to conduct their own investigation. The expedition, which included high-profile individuals, such as the space cosmonaut Georgy Greco, interviewed several local Bedouin residents in Sharm el-Sheikh, where one tribal elder told them of the legend of a quote-unquote star that had once descended from the sky to the top of one of the mountains in the area. According to the locals, this star never left the mountain and is theoretically still underneath it today. So the question Kosmopoisk posited was, could this star be a spacecraft, proving Sihon's alien theory? Unfortunately, the expedition quickly turned tragic before they could get a definitive answer, when 4 members of the team were exposed or partially exposed to a highly toxic substance that was suddenly released from a cave they were studying on site. Within hours of leaving Egypt, these individuals became very ill, with one of them, Mr. Vadim Chernobrov, eventually dying from blood cancer several years later. It has been speculated that the toxic air caused him to get sick, since he was the only one inside the cave when the air was released. One of the more outlandish theories concerning the doomed expedition centers on an ancient Egyptian curse placed on them by the pharaoh who had pursued Moses out of Egypt. However, the most troubling explanation comes from the Russian UFO enthusiast community. Many believe that Kosmopoisk might have been targeted by shady individuals or organizations due to their ongoing research into other high-profile anomalous phenomena, such as the infamous 1959 Dyatlov Pass incident in Russia. Consequently, Mr. Chernobrov might have been the victim of an assassin while he was in Egypt. Friends and family state that by the time he had died, he did not look like a man who was suffering from a natural but aggressive blood illness, but instead like a man who had been exposed to an extremely large amount of radiation designed to end his life. On a side point, when researching this episode, which mountain Kosmopoisk was actually investigating was unclear. The only article in English said it was a place called Jebel el-Bruk, but according to Google Maps, there is no such mountain. So we had to find articles written in the original Russian for further clarification and confirmation, most of which are as vague as the one in English. Translating from Russian to English complicated this significantly, since there are few Arabic sources that directly mentions the 2006 expedition and the mountain's original Arabic name with spelling. That is, until we found an article that gave the exact coordinates of the site. Entering it into Google Maps took us to a mountain called Jebel al-Buruk, not Jebel al-Bruk. This mountain is confirmed to exist in Nakhl, in the North Sinai Governorate. Now, could Vadim Chernobrov's illness really have been a rare form of the disease? Or was it something that was weaponized against him by an assassin? The third theory suggests that the radiation could have originated from the anomaly the local Bedouin said still exists beneath Jebel al-Buruk. Unfortunately, to speculate further will take us out of the Middle East into Russia and way off topic. But concerning other anomalies in the region directly related to Prophet Moses and the real location of Mount Sinai, let's go to the neighboring Negev desert and another mystery beginning in 1954. One of the most popular and plausible candidates for the real Mount Sinai is Mount Karkom, that was famously nominated by the Italian-Israeli researcher Emanuele Annetti in the mid-1950s. He states that the flat valley around Mount Karkom offers a suitable place for an assembly of a large crowd, namely Bani Israel, like what is mentioned in ancient Hebrew texts. Here, evidence of gathering and worship can be seen all around the mountain, including assembly places, 120 altars and temples, worship stages, monuments, small temporary settlements, and tombs. At the base of the mountain, there is also evidence that ancient migration trails converged there, and that cult-like rituals took place in the area. Mr. Anati identified what he believes was a sacrificial altar with the remains of 12 pillars of stone, could represent the 12 tribes of Israel as described in the book of Exodus. His theory gained more support several decades later in 2003, when a geological optical phenomenon on the side of Mount Karkom was discovered. In late December, around the time of the winter solstice, Yigal Granat, a local Israeli guide, witnessed an optical anomaly, which was later confirmed to only occur over a period of several days once a year. Here, as low in the sky, a strange aura of light that flickers like flames emanates from a spot on a sheer rock face. Because of how it looks, media nicknamed it the bush, like what is described in ancient Hebrew texts. Many have speculated that Moses might have seen the same phenomenon during his time and had interpreted it as a burning bush. However, while this does make compelling evidence that backs up Mr. Anati's theory, many archaeologists and historians reject it, stating that all the ritual activity that took place on the mountain only dates back from 4000 to 2000 BCE. It is believed that Moses led the exodus from Egypt in an entirely different period. This takes us to a third candidate, Jebel al-Lawz and Jebel Makla, two mountains in close proximity to each other within Saudi Arabia. Although no anomalous phenomena has been reported here, it has become the focus of the Doubting Thomas Research Foundation, or the DTRF for short. This organization identified this location near the border with Jordan as the real Mount Sinai, stating that it shares archaeological attributes that are consistent with ancient scripture. The amateur archaeologists and organizations that nominate this mountain as being the real Mount Sinai list several key pieces of evidence lifted from the Hebrew Bible, including, but not limited to, the following: discovery of ancient petroglyphs of cattle that seems ritualistic in nature, the altar of Moses and the 12 pillars, the blackened rock on top of Jebel al-Lawz, the split rock of Horeb. Jebel al-Lawz first became a serious candidate for the real Mount Sinai in the mid-1980s, when the controversial French archaeologist Ron Wyatt visited the area. In 1984, Wyatt was arrested by the Saudi authorities for not meeting the requirements for investigating the location, including not getting a visa to enter into the country. However, while Wyatt's and the DTRF's theories are extremely compelling, many in the archaeological community, as well as individuals from both secular and religious organizations across all faiths, affirmed that the Jebel al-Lawz nomination lacks any true academic weight. despite all of the presented evidence. According to the organization the Associates for Biblical Research, or ABR, the biggest problem with the Jebel al-Lawz mountain is that there is still no academically sound historical, geographical, archaeological, or even biblical evidence that can truly support this theory. ABR state that understanding the geographical boundaries of ancient Egypt is key to unraveling every other mystery surrounding the location of the real Mount Sinai. Quoting Nadav Naaman, a professor of Bible geography at Tel Aviv University, ABR state that the ancient Egyptian scribes had adjusted what they considered as the borders of their country. But these changes are not adequately reflected in the findings of those who believe that the mountain is in Saudi Arabia. Consequently, they note that much of this theory does not account for the location of the land of Midian, mentioned in the Bible. Midian is understood to have once existed on the northwest of Arabian Peninsula, on the east shore of the Gulf of Aqaba, on the Red Sea. However, two biblical passages clearly place Mount Sinai outside of the land of Midian. In the book of Exodus and the book of Numbers, it states that Moses and the Israelites were camped at Mount Sinai when Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, visited them. In Exodus 18, verse 27, it states, "Then Moses let his father-in-law depart from Mount Sinai, and he went his way to his own land Midian." Hence, it was a separate location of significant distance. This is further emphasized in the book of Numbers, where it reiterates that Jethro says to Moses that he will depart from Mount Sinai to Midian, where his kinsmen live. Like with Emmanuel Anati's hypothesis that Mount Karkom could be the real Mount Sinai, the Jebel al-Lawz location also has a timeline issue. ABR, as well as others in the global archaeological community, have noted that the petroglyphs of ceremonial cattle found there do not match the time when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. Also, the so-called altar of Moses and the 12 columns have been dated to the Nabataean period, which flourished between the 4th and 2nd centuries BCE. Moses is believed to have been alive between the 14th and 13th century BCE. In conclusion, while there is startling evidence for each of these locations, Jebel al-Lawz, Jebel Karkom, and even Jebel al-Buruk, as well as other mountains not mentioned in this episode, there are also strong counter-arguments. Yet, despite this, according to the Jerusalem Post, the Vatican were already taking steps to officially recognize Mount Karkom as the real Mount Sinai. If this is true, then how they will reconcile this with the fascinating evidence the Doubting Thomas Research Foundation have presented should be interesting. So for now, what evidence an individual chooses to believe or disregard may simply be down to a matter of faith and perspective. Fortunately, however, with archaeological tourism and research gaining more popularity across the region, and the technology to investigate the ancient world becoming ever more advanced, it will only be a matter of time before we can confirm without a doubt the precise location of Mount Sinai. But what do you believe? Karkom, al-Lawz, or some other mountain? Let's discuss. Like and subscribe, and make sure you have your notifications turned on for the next episode.
All right, Mashpaka, what do y'all say about that video? I think that video was whack. I think that video was a tabloid video. I don't think that, I mean, he brought out some stuff. I'm not too moved. I don't think that video was all that good. You know, I thought it was about to be like, you know, like some real crazy stuff that be happening, but no. I'm not convinced. I'm convinced. Also, when you read Flavius Josephus, from Josephus's account, he also tells us that Mount Sinai is in Arabia too. So Josephus tells us that Mount Sinai is in Arabia. Now, as far as what he's talking about, the Vatican Church, what the Vatican is going to do, that should be interesting. That should be interesting to see what the Vatican is going to do. I believe that the Vatican has the artifacts from our past. I believe that the Vatican has, the information about us being the Eladim Yasha Allah, that they have a lot of stuff, So I wouldn't doubt if the Vatican had information on the crossing of the Sea of Reeds, Don't get it twisted, man. The Catholic Church and the Vatican is a very powerful organization. Very powerful organization. They got their hands in a lot of things. All right. So what's y'all's opinion? Y'all think that video was compelling? I personally don't think it was compelling, because it doesn't really, it brought more speculation than actually bringing truth. His because at the end of it, he ended it like, whatever you choose to believe. Like, nah, homie, drop the jewels on us. Like, show us what it is. Scripture says what? Prove all things. Don't come to us with some halfway speculative information. I think that was just for views. We could have done our own video better than that. All right. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different. This video is going to be a little bit different. We have Terrence Howard. And I don't know if you noticed, but he studies and he deals in astrophysicism, astrophysicism. Yeah, you too. Yeah, I feel you out. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, I gotta say that too, man. Yeah, all the information. Yeah. So I gotta say that too. That wasn't that good. But this next video, it should be interesting. I don't know if y'all noticed, but your boy Terrence Howard never give out any of his information to the world because it proved Esau is the devil. I agree. They would have to end up confessing that they are the devil that the Bible speaks of. So this next video, I had to look at this. I don't know if the boy Terrence Howard is a genius, or I don't know if Terrence Howard is psychotic. I don't know if y'all seen this, and I don't know if y'all know that boy got like a feminine speech about him. Have y'all ever seen that? Terrence Howard, he has it's like he's trying to be Tony Stark from the Iron Man movies. It's like he's trying to be, this astrophysicist all of a sudden, and he's talking about bringing new information and new hydration and the flower of life. Yeah, we gotta check this out, man. This is off the subject. This is just a break from what we were thinking about. Okay, but let me play this video real quick. I'm not gonna play this one. I'm gonna play the one I've already seen. And y'all just check out what Terrence Howard is saying and tell me, what do y'all think about it? He's talking about developing a new hydrogen. He went from being, an actor to now talking about putting together water molecules to where he's going to make Uganda like Wakanda, not trying to be funny. Like, he's talking about making Uganda like literally like the Wakanda. All right. But let's see what he has to say. Tell me what y'all think about this. All right. Let me go ahead and mute my camera. Very effeminate. Yeah. Very, very, very effeminate. I mean, strangely effeminate. Like, I can't take you serious. Like, you know, I thought you was pretty cool in Hustle and Flow, man. You was cool in Hustle and Flow, man. You know, everybody from Memphis makes fun of his Hustle and Flow accent. All my homies in Memphis makes fun of his Hustle and Flow accent. But I can't take you serious, man. He got an effeminate speech about him. But check this out. Let's see what this is. All right, tell me what y'all think about this.
You know, I was born Terrence Deshaun Howard. I've become an actor. You know, I've been nominated for Oscars and Golden Globes and SAG Awards. But those weren't the things that really moved me. As a child, I studied chemical engineering at Pratt Institute, was there for 2 years until I saw that there was an inconsistency with the math there. And so I went out to explore a new way of understanding how the universe works, and I was able to define the grand unified field equation they've been looking for and put it into geometry. And then with that geometry, I was able to put props on that. And what I'm saying is now we have invented a new form of flight that I would like to bring here to Uganda to replace the drones, to replace the helicopters, to replace the planes. We have all the funding necessary. What we need is just a fertile ground in which to build this. Now, this is the geometry of hydrogen. Of hydrogen. Hydrogen. This is the proton itself. So any bond that hydrogen can make, our linchpins are able to make. So we're talking about unlimited bonding, unlimited predictable structures, supersymmetry. And the linchpins are now able to behave as a swarm, as a colony that can defend a nation, that can harvest food, that can remove plastics from the ocean, that can give the children of Uganda and the people of Uganda an opportunity to spread this and to sell these products throughout the world. So we are no longer just selling agricultural products and pieces from the land. We can now sell and take center stage with technology. But the main purpose is to defend the sovereignty of a peaceful place and a peaceful people without having to have our young men lose their lives.
This is Africa, land of plenty, misunderstood continent. You find everything.
Greetings to you, Your Excellency. Thank you for this great honor to meet with me and my wife. We appreciate your leadership in the strong Pan-African spirit that has enabled you to take a center role in uniting Africa. And we also appreciate what you have done regarding the diaspora and asking Africans, people of African descent to return back to Africa so that we can now rebuild Africa the way that it was supposed to be. I'm very happy with being here as a result of Honorable Frank and Isaac Kagosi, who wanted to make sure that these things would take place. I've heard about Uganda most of my life, the same way that everyone else heard about Uganda. In looking at movies about the gorillas and all of those things, and you hear stories, but then you hear stories about what you have done in trying to keep the resources Uganda here in the country and make sure that the people of Uganda are able to prosper and this land is no longer raped and taken, the properties taken away and given to other people. You know, I was born Terrence Deshaun Howard. I've become an actor. You know, I've been nominated for Oscars and Golden Globes and SAG Awards, but those weren't the things that really moved me. As a child, I studied chemical engineering at Pratt Institute, was there for 2 years until I saw that there was an inconsistency with the math there. And so I went out to explore a new way of understanding how the universe worked, and I was able to define the grand unified field equation they've been looking for and put it into geometry. And then with that geometry, I was able to put props on that. And what I'm saying is now we have invented a new form of flight that I would like to bring here to Uganda to replace the drones, to replace the helicopters, to replace the planes. We have all the funding necessary. What we need is just a fertile ground in which to build this. Now, this is the geometry of hydrogen. Of hydrogen.
Hydrogen.
So any bond that hydrogen can make, our linchpins are able to make. So we're talking about unlimited bonding, unlimited predictable structures, supersymmetry. And the linchpins are now able to behave as a swarm, as a colony that can defend a nation, that can harvest food, that can remove plastics from the ocean, that can give the children of Uganda and the people of Uganda an opportunity to spread this and to sell these products throughout the world. So we are no longer just selling agricultural products and pieces from the land. We can now sell and take center stage with technology.
We're just schmoozing all the reporters at the Emmy. Starting out with a happy anniversary to me and Jessica. This was our 11th Emmy red carpet. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say we've had hundreds of red carpet conversations. But we've never had a red carpet conversation quite like this. When Empire debuted on Fox, show was red hot. Now, series star Terrence Howard says when it concludes this season, he's done with acting, and that's not all. We woke to headlines about the conversation this morning. Howard Stern, no less, played the whole thing. Friends in the booth, please drop the crawl at the bottom of the screen. Take it away, because we've taken what Terrence said. We put the words at the bottom of the screen to see if we can all better understand it. Good luck to all of us. Lucius is in the house. Terrence Howard here. You made huge headlines when you said, after you complete these 15 episodes of Empire, you got to walk away for a while or forever?
For good. I mean, everyone keeps trying to tell me, don't say it's forever. But I've spent 37 years pretending to be people so that people can pretend to watch and enjoy what I'm doing when I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, you know, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, you know, walking on water for tips when I've got an entire generation to teach a whole new world?
That's a big remark. Yeah. What do you intend to do?
Well, let me put it this way. All energy in the universe is expressed in motion. All motion is expressed in waves. All waves are curved. So where does the straight lines come from to make the platonic solids? There are no straight lines. So when I took the flower of life and opened it properly, I found a whole new wave conjugations that expose the in-between spaces. It's the thing that holds us all together.
Okay.
I didn't do too well in trigonometry.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. So I've been checking this dude out. He did a whole speech, I believe, at Oxford, and yeah, he did a whole speech at Oxford. I think it's like yeah, Oxford. Yeah, it's like 52 minutes long, and he's talking about the flower of life. I got to be honest with y'all. I have no idea what he's talking about. I think he's talking about I don't know what he's talking about. I had the sacred geometry. I don't know, but he's talking about bringing a new hydrogen water form to Uganda. And it's possible that he might be talking about something we just don't know. I have no idea. So, I know he's talking about this thing about the linchpin, a new form of a super advanced drone, whatever. I don't know. Anywho, that's it. I wanted to show these videos on not the new moon, but my bad, my brain just went to new moon for some reason. Not on Mount Sinai, being in Arabia, see what everybody's thoughts are, how do y'all feel about it? And then also see, what is your stance? Do you think that Arabia is where Mount Sinai is? I personally do. I think Ron Wyatt did an excellent job. I think that the Most High left the proof and the evidence there. Right? Yeah, I know. I know. So I personally do. I got. Let me see. Yeah, brother, you're right, man. Very effeminate spirit, man. I don't know what's that about. But for some reason, the brother just got. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm with the masculine vibration, man. I can't rock with the weird swag. I can't rock with the weird sway, man. It bothers me. It bothers me. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for me, family members. I got to get some the science of Terrence Howard. That's crazy. I got to get some rest just for a minute, then I'll be back. All right. Let me see. If anybody has anything they want to bring out, please do. All right. Baba Kusha, hit me up. You already know what it is. My phone is always available, 937-972-7236. All right. So I'll be shutting down just for a minute. And again, if anybody needs me, hit me up. I had a wonderful time building with you all. Kwame Asherala, we'll be coming back with Isaiah and Matthew. I'm going to take me a well-deserved Shabbat nap like a toddler. Okay? I'm going to take me a Sabbath toddler nap. All right. Y'all brought Kwame out by Shimon Shai, man. I had a blessed time building with y'all. All right. Kwame Asherala. Yo, salute to you. All right. Greatly appreciate you. Kwame Asherala by Shama Mashiach. Y'all should see me. I'm barely holding myself up. I'm over here slumped in the mud. All right. Enjoy your Shabbat. Rest well. And y'all become Shalom.